hereby call this meeting, the October 9th meeting of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to order. Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Aaron Angel is not here. Scott Conlon.
Here.
Thomas Davis.
Here.
Paige Lewis.
Here.
Sam Libby.
Here.
Nicholas Novello is not here. Dan Olson.
Here.
Council Liaison Tim Waters.
Here.
Great, so let's move to approval of the agenda. Yeah.
Can we jump first to, after you do the initial stuff, do new business A and B first?
Sure.
Thank you. Sure.
Any other proposed amendments to the agenda? Okay, can I have a motion for approval of the agenda as amended?
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, so now let's move to approving the previous month's minutes. Are there any edits to the minutes? We have a couple. On page, so letter B, Recreation Ballot Initiative Resolution. On the first sentence, it says the board would like to make proposed changes to, I think it's to the resolution. The Recreation Ballot Initiative Resolution. And then on the second bullet at the end, I think it should be population and not transportation. And then on the sort of the next page, the second kind of big paragraph that starts with Jeff Friesner stated, I think we just need to clarify about, it was talking about the recreation impact fee funds, and so like those funds can only be used to build new recreation and leisure type facilities. And then there's just kind of some lack of clarity in that. So it says these funds cannot go toward existing, I think it's projects or facilities. Yeah. It must go to new programming. So what is being proposed is that the recreation impact fee funds go to the new recreation center, and $5 million of funds generated through the ballot question would be used to do improvements on the Longmont Recreation Center. So that's it.
I just have one other on the first line of section B. It's resolution R 2023-1, which is correct later, but it's the number of the resolution.
Okay. Any other proposed changes, edits? If not, we can need a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the previous month's meeting as amended.
Second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Dan abstained because he
I wasn't here.
Okay. Do we have public invited to be heard?
This is actually our new PM.
Okay, great. Sitting in the public invited to be heard section. Great, okay. If there's no public invited to be heard, per the amended agenda, let's go to item A under new business.
So one of the things we talked about at our January meeting was inviting Angela Brill to come and talk to us about the Art in Public Places process, and Angela is here to do that tonight.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you for
very
being
excited. So, my name is Angela Brill, and I'm an art historian by trade with an emphasis in theory and criticism, so don't worry too much. Today I'm just bringing you an overview of the Art and Public Places process. It's very, there's a lot of images. Hopefully I get through all of your questions during the program or during the presentation, and then of course if there's anything additional at the end that I can clarify, we can talk about that then. So I'm not going to read this to you, but overall we're going to talk about 1% for the arts, which is what we are, and then how Art and Public Places functions within that. And clearly you do not have the city font, and so here we go with this one. So the Art and Public Places, 22,000 years ago, folks were writing on cave walls, and 2,000 years ago in Pompeii, folks were writing and describing their societal influences, and in 1872, the United States decided to do a public art initiative to put funding towards identifiers of cultural history in public space. And then in 1959 in Philadelphia, the first % for the arts program was put into the United States in Philadelphia. And so I put Robert Indiana's Love up just because I think that it ends up being one of those quintessential, unique identifiers of the city of Love and what public art really can be at its best and its finest. So this is from 1976. Art and Public Places here in Longmont was established in 87, and then it was codified in 1993. And we are funded through a 1% levy on construction line of the city improvement projects. Most of them, there are exceptions. And so what that means is any construction line item for a CIP project that is $50,000 or more, 1% of that goes into a special fund for public art. In our code, it does not specify that 1% has to be used specifically for the project from where those funds came. Sometimes it's best practices, sometimes you have next light, and those 1% funds come from lots of different places. So our mission, of course, is to provide, manage, and promote a diverse and ongoing collection of public art for the enjoyment of the citizens of Longmont. And we are administered through the Longmont Museum, managed by a 15-person commission, like yourselves, that are appointed by City Council. And we are recruiting right now, as you, I imagine, are as well, which closes on the 13th. So brick sculpture here on 6th and Main was the first piece into the public art collection in 1991 by Ken Williams, and it stands today. It's in very good shape, and it is made of brick. Sorry. Oh, this looks so bad. But our guiding principles come from, of course, Envision Longmont, and certainly from council direction and their initiatives. But I point out that the quality of life, I guess, if you will, from economic vitality, opportunities for all, and then the livable corridors and neighborhood. This is infused what will be called in Envision Longmont, it says art and culture, and art, or in the art stuff. And so that would be where Art and Public Places tends to fall, but specifically we fall in 3.4C, where it calls out public art as creating a more, through beautifying, of course, but also a quality of life aspect. And so, but then I like to distill this down a little bit, because what is public art? And public art, it tells a story. It tells a story of people in a place, a public space that is intended to be for everyone. Of course, it often is visual art, and so the Art and Public Places Commission currently is working on trying to find ways through the digital world to extend the public art collection to be more available for everyone. But of course, equity and accessibility is always at the fore of our minds, but tends to be intended for everyone. It's generally created through a public art process, a very open, transparent process. And the community has the opportunity to directly impact their surroundings through the public art process in that identifier of place. It tends to generate community pride, and it tends to be a community narrative in time. And again, I know that this is very verbal, and I'll make sure that it gets to you. So let's talk about Longmont Art and Public Places in our annual programs. So we have Art on the Move, which is a program which is loaning artworks or borrowing artworks from up to 7 pieces or sets, I guess if you will, from regional artists. Regional is as far as someone wants to come and ship them to us with the stipend that they are providing. So we have had folks as far as Idaho. This piece on the left was from Sedalia. Northern Colorado, Jade Wendell is working in Colorado Marble there on the right. And then these are our 2020, some of our 2023 offerings. Of course, the processing after Rodin's Thinker on the left, which is very whimsical. We have a bronze interactive piece where kiddos can climb onto the little frog at the museum. A beautiful limestone piece in St. Stephen's. And just this year, we've extended a number of plinths in the old tree grates where forestry was forced to remove a number of trees. And so instead of putting trees back because that wasn't scheduled to happen, we instead built plinths and now are addressing that area all along 4th Avenue. We also did some two-dimensional art, I guess two-dimensional or wall hangings, because it's not really two-dimensional, indoor this year. So Joan Norman Stainless Wings on the left was an interactive piece where there were little feet on the ground and you could go and encourage people to stand and take their picture with the wings on the left. And then still in the Safety and Justice building on the right is Becky Waring Steele's digital photography. She makes tiny little models of humans and then puts them up into very large scapes, but then creates these vignettes. So the people are actually just little tiny. And Becky Waring Steele is a really good example of the vitality and the prominence of Longmont artists. She was a student, went to high school, grew up in Longmont, is a thriving visual artist down in Denver. And when she saw this opportunity to do a display in Longmont, she jumped at it. And it just so happened that the commission chose this work without even knowing that she was from Longmont. So we really do try to choose the artwork that's on display specifically for the art and the space rather than the artist. So we're really trying to think of it from an equitable lens that way. The piece that is around the corner here in this building, Milk Pods, I don't know if you've seen it, it's just around the corner, it's got lovely photos. It was actually on the short list for the museum space, but because of the light in the museum, we were afraid that it would damage it over time because these works tend to be up for a year. This is what our contract is, and so we didn't want to ruin it. Anyway, that is a lovely piece if you haven't seen it. Our other annual program is Shock Art, which we work with LPC. It's a partnership. It came into play in 2010, and these are the little maquettes for the pad mount switches, a very specific box that LPC allows us to paint. And the community, we put them on display for the community to choose the winning design, and then artists are paid a stipend, arguably the best in Colorado. We were above market value on this too. And so here is the picture of the selections from 2023, and then down in the right-hand corner is the pieces on display at Old Town Marketplace for folks to vote. We had over 2,000 unique votes, and we take that voting very seriously. Talk to the city clerk to make sure that it is a very straightforward process, and then of course artist up on the right going through the process of implementing his box. We have over 80, and I think that the collection overall at this point is we're getting close to 175, so nearing 2,000. It's quite a collection, but the boxes themselves I think we're close to 80. And then this is from 2019. We're updating our map with GIS, but you can see that they really are all over town, so it's something for everyone.
They're great.
Yeah, or I would say arguably our most beloved program. And so some recent projects, we were working on addressing a standard operating procedure for graffiti abatement, especially along pedestrian and bike paths. It's been a challenge. So this artwork at 9th and Alpine was originally painted in 2018, and idle hands during the COVID times weren't helpful for us, and so we came back, commissioned the artist again to do another community painting, kind of in a paint by numbers. I wish I could tell you, I have those stats somewhere, but it was over 200 participants, nearly 18 to 20 kids under the age of 18. and only one hailstorm. Yeah, we learned a lot about how to wrangle folks and keep everybody busy. That was way too many volunteers for any given time. This is a number of the commissioners who came out to get working, and then Evan, the intern, bless his heart, Evan Pan on the right was our high school intern who worked on this project, and was really very valuable. And that's Pat Milbury finishing up the touches with the aerosol cans after some of that. The Butterfly Pavilion was a project that came about with the Sister Cities Association that wanted to do a piece to dedicate and commemorate the 25 years of their partnership with Ciudad Guzman. It was supposed to go into Nino Gallo Park, which is the parks, or we're not quite there yet on that park, so we had to hustle, same kind of thing during the COVID time, to find a new place for it to go. And so Sister Cities met with superintendents of the park, and they chose Flanders Park, which is an idyllic scene, of course, overlooking McIntosh Lake. You can see the Twin Peaks, and so every year going forward, when the exchange happens, and down in the left-hand corner you can see some of the kiddos from the exchange, they'll be meeting at the park, meeting at the pavilion, but it also is a gathering space for community. So it serves that dual purpose of an identifying mark that is symbolic and representative of their home in some of those colors, but sits in Longmont and really is evocative of that partnership. So this is a quick and dirty look at our project management kind of scale, if you will. At any given time, because we are cyclical, we have a project queue, from staff people to looking at our CIP projects. We try and narrow and get an overall view of all of the potential projects and opportunities. And then every fall, the executive team of our 15-person board narrows it down and prioritizes those projects. And then we move forward after research. Some things come up the queue, some of them fall down. In the planning phase, a task force is nominated, and a selection panel, which tends to be a number of residents, and finalizing all of those details. And then the execution, which is the really fun part, which is when we put out the request for qualifications to an artist, and then we narrow it down to a field of artists that are experienced in the kind of artwork that we're looking for. Then we pay those artists a fair wage to actually create proposals. Those proposals come forward, open community meetings happen, anyone can give their opinion to the selection panel of what they like and what they want to see, and then the selection panel narrows it down to two, one artist that they want to go under contract with, and an alternate. And it goes into internal review, contract phase, fabrication, installation, dedication. Done.
Inspiration.
Right? All the things. All the things. So some of the things that we have coming up, and some of the things that Art in Public Places likes to see, such as your Fox Meadows, which doesn't have its name, on the left, and Clover Meadows on the right. Wherein the infrastructure piece of it is already in the project that the Parks Department is going forth. So we're bringing the artwork into and integrating, so we're not double doing duty. We're not double pouring concrete. We're not double forklifting and all of those bits and pieces. So these are two exciting projects, and the Art in Public Places Commission has allocated $60,000 for each of those. You have the 3 park projects that are coming about, these two, and then also a turf. I always call it AstroTurf, and then Steve Hansweiler laughs at me. Synthetic turf. Synthetic turf, which that doesn't really make a lot of sense for Art in Public Places to participate in an integration project there. So some of those dollars then have been reallocated into these two. And again, it doesn't have to be a 1-for-1, that exact 1% to this project, but it sure is close. The Pratt Bridge is a project that will be underway, and then its subsequent sister bridge, which will be the Boston Bridge. So this call for artists will be going out, and these are one of the parks. The Fox Meadow Park is a $2023 allocation, Pratt Bridge is a 2023 allocation, and then Clover will be 2024. Other things that we get to do with a program from 1987 is take care of things we already have. So this is Gather Enough People, which is right across the street, and the Army Corps of Engineers, as you know, is going to be putting in a levee, and it's gonna go right where that piece is. So we are going to be deconstructing it, salvaging as much of it as we can, putting it into storage, and then we're having some structural come in and look at what it would cost to, in fact, refabricate it somewhere else, potentially in Isaac Walton. And then Art and Public Places will look at the cost, and then they'll make the decision to reallocate or allocate those funds into reconstruction or to decommission the object. And who knows what that'll look like, but works, I think, similarly to a pneumatic truck scale, or it did. When you walk out and you gather enough people, the weight goes down and electrical signal goes out. It goes up what I call the whirligig, and then the whirligig kind of opens and like a butterfly. Hasn't worked for many years, and of course the flood sure didn't help. And then low-hanging fruit, which I hate that term, but it's true. These traffic cabinet historic photos are super popular, and the commission is very excited about taking the Times Call photography archive that lives in the museum, plus a lot of the archival photos that we have, and putting them on traffic cabinets in a vinyl wrap around town. So it'll be a fun way to see the museum out in the world. And then going back to that Project Q, we collaborate with lots of different folks around the city. Of course, we work with our neighborhood folks in the neighborhood improvement projects. The piece on the right, Play-by-Play in Kitely neighborhood, was a grant that we did through the neighborhood improvement project. We work with the downtown district often. Cross-departmentally, we worked with Growing Water Smart to protect the Unity project at Kensington Park recently. It was getting hit by mowers. And so we fixed the piece, and instead of putting concrete around it, we put a water smart garden. So if you haven't been over there to see that brilliant, fantastic use of cross-departmental energies. And things that we're looking into, of course, are the Civic Center Library. We've looked at some silos. The Nino Gallo restroom, which is an adaptive reuse of a silo that's gonna become the restroom, was something that we'll be doing a mural on. Of course, we have a couple new fire stations, and then we have a lot of maintenance. It's not the pretty stuff, but it's true. Southmore Main Street Bridge has some maintenance, and then Picnic at Left Hand, the big ants, they need paint bad. So, in a nutshell, that is Art in Public Places. How did I do on time? Not bad? All right.
Nice.
How can I answer all of your questions?
Does anyone have questions?
Covered everything?
Yeah.
All right.
That's pretty good.
I have
Yeah.
one. We have this new process that something bid and something and bid. Is Art in Public Places part of that? When you guys do the new parks,
Like 8 and 5 or whatever. it is.
8/5, all that, is Art in Public Places in from the get-go, or after the fact, we say, now what should we put in? Or I just wonder how it works.
Good question. If
Yeah,
you want to, or
I
me?
can go.
Go ahead.
No, we've already working with her team on Fox Meadows and
Right.
Clover Meadows. And the money from our construction budget then does hit their bucket. So it's not that we don't award artists or do any selections early on, but we collaborate so then they can get their process started and work to find out what the most effective.
So a site or
Yeah.
a size or that's somewhere in
Those
the
are-
design phase.
We're in the
or
conceptual phase right now.
Okay.
Actually, master planning Fox Meadows, so you guys are coming up with some pretty fun ideas.
Yeah?
Clover Meadows is a little further in design because it started in
Yeah,
2019.
right.
So it'll be a little bit lighter, it won't be quite as integrated, but
Okay.
yeah, they're involved.
So that they are involved, or that's great. That's the way it ought to be, I
Yeah,
think.
she's Angela's been at all of our public meetings for
Yeah,
Fox Meadows too.
Wednesday too.
Ah,
Yes. Absolutely. But the integration is really, that's where it looks the most seamless. For example, some of the things that they've been speaking about in the community meetings at Fox Meadows, and who knows if it'll go in, is potentially an amphitheater. Well, if that is the case, and an amphitheater could be, and you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Little things. Say a mosaic project along that, so the artist, will get the artist under contract at the same time that your, the parks conceptual is coming into play, so that the art and the fabrication of the amphitheater are happening at the same time, rather than the
Right,
park
after
goes
the
in
fact.
and then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
come in afterwards. It's not as seamless.
okay,
Yeah, and it
Thanks.
has a far better look.
right, that would be my opinion too, yes.
Yeah.
I have a question that might be related to that, because I was just wondering how, when you put out an RFP for artists for like Fox Meadows or Clover Meadows, like, do you put out like a theme or something that you want them to respond to? Like, what kind of guidance? Is it just
Yes.
any idea you have, or is it?
That's a very good question. So we start with the RFQ, and the difference between the RFQ and an RFP is we're asking for qualifications, and there's certainly a narrative that goes along with that. So let's use the word whimsy, because I think that everyone, you can see in your mind the difference between maybe a figurative bronze versus a whimsical piece of public art. And there's certainly the distinction there, right? And so within the narrative of the qualifications, we say we're looking for a mosaic artist who uses mixed media, or even something like if we wanted to use upcycled materials only, we would put that into that narrative of what it is that we are looking for. And then artists are going to come forward and they're going to put their qualifications of the artwork that they've done before. Depending on the scale and size of the project, if you want to bring in an artist who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience, or if you're really looking for someone who has a lot of experience. Like the Pratt Bridge, that's going to mean permitting, that's going to mean getting different equipment down. So we look at it that way. And so there's always subject matter experts that help the selection panel along, but really they look at all of the applications that come forward, and when they're looking at a park project, anybody who submitted their paintings for their qualifications, they move them along. And so the short list kind of narrows itself down, but then that's where the good stuff happens, because then we pay those artists from the short list to bring their actual proposals together. And that's when they do a little bit of heavy lifting and say, this is really what I'm thinking based upon my qualifications as an artist. I'm using my methodologies, and this is what I want to bring.
Great, thanks.
Sure.
Just had a brief question
Yeah.
about the digital implementation that you brought up there briefly at the start.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that also has a physical element, like it's a touch screen at the art site, or you're just talking about better photography so it's available online?
Yeah, I think that where we're starting right now is going to be a QR code that ends up being on the artwork label, and then has tour information, physical information that someone could hear. We actually spoke with the School of Sight and Hearing, and I can't remember the name of the actual school, but down in Colorado Springs, and said, we're thinking about implementing Braille onto our labels. And they said, oh, please don't, because we're so technologically advanced now that folks can actually use their smart devices, or you could go get one from the library, and the devices are able to find that QR code and then zip straight into the profile of the piece and go forward that way. So it's going to be a slow rollout. It's going to be starting with tours, so very guided direction of going to these pieces downtown, and then Quail Campus is where we're starting, and then hopefully along the Resilient St. Vrain. And then something like this has a seek and find aspect to it. So how many kittens are there? How many kites are there in Kitely? And so hopefully the goal is that slowly but surely we will continue to build these assets and make this visual piece of artwork at the very least interactive with unsighted people or others.
Yeah, and that was the only other thing I had to ask was beyond the disability element of it, like
Sure.
getting kids involved with it as well. You mentioned go spot how many cats are on there or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of planning for implementing more of that as well? Or?
I wouldn't say necessarily planning, but certainly our community projects like this are the quickest and easiest way to get kids involved in the public art process.
Yeah.
We do field trips with the St. Vrain Valley School District all of the time, which is great, and over COVID it was actually something we were really successful in, is bringing digital field trips to go and find things around Longmont so kids can kind of go out on their own. But yeah, we're working with the school district all the time. It's the littles, I think, that are a little bit harder,
Yeah.
but certainly within the museum, the Discovery Days program, along with public art, there's a kind of a beautiful marriage that way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thanks.
What's the best way to stay abreast of new things? I looked for a newsletter or anything on the website, but
Yes, so you can sign up for the newsletter. They're only quarterly. We really don't blast the general public with a lot of things. Social media, Facebook, and we got an Instagram account.
Cool.
So we got approved. So slowly but surely that. As I understand, the website with the city is being revamped, which would be very helpful for us, but the entire collection is on the website, you just have to scroll
I
for
saw, yeah.
days.
It's so many pieces of art, what a good problem to have.
Oh, right, good thing, I love it, that's exactly it, yeah.
Cool.
Well, thank
All
you
right,
for
thanks so
having me.
much.
Thank
I
you.
really
Yeah, thank you.
appreciate your time. And if okay with you, I'm gonna boogie.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, end of the show. There it is, just in case you want to see.
All right, so we will move on to the next item, which I think is Taylor.
Yeah, we're gonna let Rachel in, and then I would imagine we might have to mess around with audio. See if we can-
Thank you.
Fun, thanks. Here you go, you can try it. I'll do my best. Hey Rachel, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Both of them are,
She was muted.
try it again.
Can you say something? We'll see if we can hear you. Cool, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, settings.
What if we're still under you, if you unmute you?
Oh,
Go to the
that's-
microphones.
Go to.
Yeah, because that drop down right there, and then
Oh, here.
there you go. The Samsung, I think is what it is.
Samsung? Okay,
Yeah.
I know it's one of these. All right, say something, Rachel.
Hi.
Yay! All right, that wasn't too bad. Cool, thank you.
Alright, so that was great. That was quick. Hi, sorry I can't be there in person. I'm getting over COVID. So you don't want me there in person. But it's nice to be here with all of you. Just a quick note that my husband has COVID, my children don't. So I told him if he really needs me to interrupt me, because this is important, but I really don't want my children home for a week from school. So hopefully that won't happen outside with them, but if they need me to intervene,
Got
there's a
it.
small chance I'll get pulled away. You guys prepare everything.
Right on.
So anyways, I'm Rachel Brett. I'm the Director of Community Impact at Thorn Nature Experience. We are an environmental education organization currently based in Boulder, soon to be based in Lafayette. And prior to this role, I started about 10 months ago. I worked for Wildlands Restoration Volunteers in Longmont with Taylor for a time, so she and I go back. And I'm just pleased to be working with her again and with the city of Longmont moving forward about some really exciting things. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about our Nature Kids program that's primarily been based in Lafayette up till now, and that we're working to bring to Longmont. And then hopefully I'll leave myself a few minutes for a quick video that speaks to it better than I can, and then of course for you all to ask questions. I'm going to share my screen, if that's okay, and hopefully that works. If it doesn't, I will go without the slides, and that'll be fine too, but I'm gonna try to share my screen. Okay, can you all see that?
It's black, but we have, oh, there it is, yep,
Yep.
we got it.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it like this, as in my experience, actually putting it in like presenter mode doesn't work great. So let me know if anything gets messed up with that. But like I said, I'm with Thorn. Thorn does a variety of, sort of traditional environmental education programming, from summer camp to in-school programming and field trips throughout Boulder Valley School District, and also with St. Vrain School District. You can see, we've got, and I'm going to go through a lot of this quickly because I know I only have about 15 minutes to talk, but we've got 17,000 some hundred participants a year. We really work hard to engage with parts of the community that have been historically left out from environmental education programming, and that's really a big mission for us. And Nature Kids, Hoganestella Nature Lisa, is a really core piece of that effort. So Nature Kids started in 2016 with a Great Outdoors Colorado grant. So Great Outdoors Colorado, as I'm sure you all know, funds all kinds of different projects, including what they call Generation Wild communities, which are communities where the focus is on engaging youth and families in, a really comprehensive suite of programming to ensure that all youth in the community have access to nature. This program started in 2016 with a large, about $200,000 grant focused just on community outreach, really asking the community what they were looking for in Lafayette. And then from there, we are now starting our 7th year of programming after that initial year of community outreach. The program in Lafayette is 20 plus organizations, 1,500 participants, unique participants, but 15,000 participant engagements. The vast majority are from Spanish-speaking families, so the program is really highly bilingual. And the intention is to provide a suite of experiences from pre-K through high school, backyard to background tree, integrated with family programming, career pathways, and paid employment. And then the initial grant also included several capital construction projects to ensure that all Lafayette youth live within a safe 10-minute walk from nature. There's a ton of different organizations that are engaged. You can just see sort of the image of across the board from local government, the school district, nonprofits, CU, really, across the board, Jack's Mercantile, so not just nonprofits either. Really with the idea that, Thorn has a niche in the space of getting youth outside, but we can't do it all, and we can't do it all the best. And so the more we work together with other organizations, the more we can provide programming that fills the gaps together, and then really can engage and provide multiple entry points for youth and families, some of whom might be really excited about going on a camping trip, and others who might come for a gardening program, and others who might want to try equine therapy. And so having many, and others who just need pre-K, childcare in the summertime and free summer camp. So really looking at as many different pieces of the picture as we can, and knowing that we can only do that well if we do it with partners. In Lafayette, our community that we really ended up prioritizing, because there wasn't as many community assets in Lafayette as in other parts of Boulder County, really focused on neighborhoods serving the Spanish-speaking community, particularly around Sanchez Elementary, but also serving Pioneer Elementary and Ryan. So we really focused a lot of our outreach and our programming and our capital construction in those specific neighborhoods for those reasons. I'll come back to that video in a minute. So like I said, one of the most important pieces in this process that we also know is crucial for Longmont when we are able to start bringing programming to Longmont is knowing what the unique community needs and assets are in Lafayette, and knowing that those are not the same now as they were, almost 8 years ago, and that they won't be the same for Longmont. And we've expanded in a small way to Boulder, the city of Boulder as well, and that they're very different there too. Sorry, my cough is mostly better, but it's still lingering. And like I said, that in and of itself in Lafayette, because we had this big grant to back it up, was a $200,000 almost process of just getting out there, connecting with the community, sometimes in nature itself, and asking the questions. So we were really talking directly to folks in a really authentic way, and working directly with leaders in the community to make sure that we were talking to as many people as possible and getting real answers that you can't really get unless you are building relationships at the same time. Like I mentioned, another real core piece of this was that scaffolded approach from pre-K through high school, building in family engagement and looking at as many different entry points to engagement as possible. So we centered this in a lot of ways around head, heart, hands, and feet, which mean looking at how we learn, how we explore, how we connect, how we act. All of those are pieces of getting youth out in nature and families out in nature. And some of them are going to speak differently to different people, and also as youth grow up, there's different developmentally appropriate pieces. We don't want to teach a 5-year-old about climate change before they've had a chance to learn about the plants and animals in their own backyard and build a relationship with nature and empathy for the world around them. You're not going to have as powerful as an impact. So starting local and building out from there. There's a lot of research that shows that these are the best ways to build connection over time and create a community of folks who are connected and want to take action and are, you know, essentially stewards of the environment for the rest of their lives. I've talked about a lot of this already, but like I said, programming pieces, nature play area, programming pieces really span the gamut. Like I said, hundreds of free summer camp spots, not just with Thorn, but with other summer camp providers as well. So, you know, that for a long time, like all these different organizations were in competition with one another, and we really tried not to see it that way. So instead of focusing on it that way, it's okay, well, we can't serve everybody, so who else can we pull in to provide more space and more opportunity? So free summer camp, in-school and after-school programming, family camping trips, family hikes right in town, and stargazing, and Zumba in the park, and equine therapy, art programs, really as many different things as we could think of. And then, like I mentioned, there were also some capital pieces. We built a nature play area at Sanchez Elementary. We built some access trails. Some parts of the community here in Lafayette could see, you know, certain open spaces, but had to go way around because there was like a chain link fence just to get there. So we worked with the city to shift that so that folks had access, no matter what part of the community they lived in, to the open space that is so valuable. You know, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on here, but we've got a ton of data just on the outputs. There's, you know, one example of summer engagement, 874 participants on average, 24,000 hours of engagement in summertime alone. School year engagements, there's more because we're able to access every single kid in the 3 schools that we work with here in Lafayette. I say here because I live in Lafayette. I mentioned the capital construction that was also a piece of this project. You know, one of the things we heard from folks when we did that community outreach in the first place was that there were all these gazebos. Wanaka Lake is a real gathering place here in Lafayette, but you had to rent them months ahead online in a system that was only in English. So we built a new gazebo that was non-reservable so that folks would have access to a gazebo that they didn't have to rent online in a language that they didn't speak months ahead of time. And then, you know, the most important pieces of this are what it's brought to the community. And one of the biggest things to emphasize, and we built this around what we, and I say we, I wasn't involved at the beginning, but we as environmental educators knew the benefits of time spent in nature, because there's tons of research about it. But what's emerged as we've done evaluation over the past now 6+ years is that the second bullet here, social cohesion and community belonging, that's been one of the biggest pieces, not just connection to nature, but connection to the rest of the community, connection to local government. Our Lafayette's open space agency and staff have been really involved in this project, so connection to local government, not just within open space, but when Lafayette's current mayor, who's I believe the youngest mayor in the state of Colorado, in the history of Colorado, when he was running for government, it was this community who had met him through these programs, because he was here in this community, that rallied and spoke at various events and really like came together. So that, and then that belonging to one another and community connection with one another as well. There's a whole bunch of other highlights, like I said, appreciation for the outdoors, time spent in nature, stronger sense of place. But this community belonging and cohesion was one that maybe wasn't quite as anticipated, but has really emerged as a theme that's been so vital to what we put together. So that's what we're coming from in Lafayette. Like I said, what we've done here isn't the same thing that we envision bringing to other communities. A couple of years ago, Nature Kids expanded to the city of Boulder in a much smaller way, and we did a year-long pilot program there to get community input from the city there, from the residents there, to figure out what was different. We can't base what we're doing now on info from 7 years ago. The world was an entirely different place, and these are different communities. So looking ahead, we are still going in Lafayette, and we just got additional funding from GOCO to keep the program going in Lafayette. Thorne is actually building a nature center right here in Lafayette, so we'll soon be based in Lafayette ourselves as well. We are expanding the work that we're doing in Boulder. And then most relevant to you all is this pilot that we are working on with Taylor and others in Longmont. And in connection with that, this Nature Everywhere initiative that Taylor and myself and a couple of other partners from Human Services, as well as from the nonprofit sector, our core team also has someone from the Community Foundation on it. So we are coming together with this commitment towards Longmont being a Nature Everywhere city. And so we'll be traveling as a team in a couple of weeks to Austin, Texas to start visioning what that looks like, with the anticipation from Thorne's side of things that in 2024 we have, I'm still working on exactly how much, but funding to invest in a pilot in Longmont to launch some initial programming, some summer camp scholarships, some family programming, in conjunction with partners including the city and Wildland Restoration Volunteers and Calwood Education Center up in Jamestown, to utilize some initial programming as a chance to really get a sense from the community of what would be valuable there. Also building on the asset mapping and the research that's already been done by folks within the city, because one of the great things about Longmont that Taylor and I have talked about is that there are assets already in place in Longmont that Lafayette didn't have when we started, and so we want to know what's already happening and how Thorne can support it. And the biggest reason for this, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, you don't need to look at this anymore, is that we know from conversation with GOCO that in the coming year or two there will be another wave of Generation Wild funding, and that they're really encouraging Thorne in partnership with others to apply for new funding. And so, our initial grant in Lafayette was nearly $3 million. So there could be a really big investment from GOCO and our ability to launch a program like that in partnership with folks really already rooted in the city, hopefully in 2025. So that's sort of where we're coming from, and we're really excited to be working with the city. And like I said, we know that there's so many amazing things already happening in Longmont. And so our goal is to come in and support and bring what we have and what we've learned, and not to take over the things that are already happening, but really to help network and bring in new partners who are excited to be there as part of what we've already built, but really do that in a way that's responsive to what the city is already doing, and in conjunction with the folks we're already working with in open space and human services. I will pause there. If I have 5 more minutes, I'd love to share a short video of some of the impact of the program, but if you're short on time, I'm totally fine also just going straight to question and answer.
We have a few minutes or no?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a short video. Cool,
Yeah, I think it's like 5 minutes.
cool, good to go.
Okay. Let me share my screen again then. Okay, can you see that?
It should kick up here just a moment.
Probably take a second, there we go,
All right, and let me know if you can hear it.
okay.
Can you hear it?
Not yet, no. I think you sent me a link though, so we can find it.
Yeah, I don't want to waste Bill's time either, so you can try and pull it up, but I can also just go straight to answering questions if that's easier.
Well, give me 15 seconds, I'll see if I can pull it up, and if not, then we'll just move on.
Okay. Stop sharing.
Is there a link
Well-
available to it online that
I
could
have
be
one
shared?
right in here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
While Taylor's doing that, just, oh, perfect, that was quick.
Very speedy. Do you wanna pause for a second though? Or should
No, I was just gonna put this a little bit of context. This is a question Paige had about, I think, something we read in the last minutes from Taylor about the grant. And Keith and I, their executive director, started this conversation probably, it was pre-COVID, I think. And one of the things that Rachel did a nice job transitioning to is the fact that Longmont has programs, and Jeff may talk about that too, at Sandstone Ranch and stuff. And this idea of supporting each other is an important piece. So it really isn't them coming in and taking over, it's really partnering, building, and doing that stuff. And Taylor probably talked about the opportunity we have coming to Austin, but that's a nice transition, Rachel. Thank you.
For sure.
Alright, Rachel, you probably won't be able to hear it on your end, but we're gonna play it. I'll tell you when we're done.
That's fine.
Nature Kids started back in 2017, and basically it's a program with the goal of trying to get more youth out into nature and connecting with nature. And so the way we do that is through lots of programs, programs for all ages.
Lo que más me gusta sobre esto es que tiene la oportunidad la comunidad de disfrutar sin un costo, todo es gratis, lo único que necesitan es salir y poder disfrutar de lo que nos ofrece Nature Kids.
And the things that they learn and the things they get to do, sailing, archery, hikes, fishing, all the different things, it's amazing.
We offer them options. So we really tap into what their interests are. Because that's the fundamental thing, is we're actually following the children and their desires.
It's not like school, where in school you're spending 8 hours in a desk learning things nonstop. Out here, you have the freedom to do what you want.
The high school students that are at these camps that work with these kids are amazing. Some of them have been through and had their own problems, and they really help them. They really mentor them.
I like that we get to see like kids connecting with nature, and we get outside and we get to like hang out with them, catch crayfish, play games with them, and just see them like really develop a love for the outdoors.
I feel like a lot of families would think to themselves like, I can't take my kids to this because of money reasons, but here it's more of like, you can come because it's for anybody and whoever needs it or wants it.
Los niños, mis hijos llegan todos los días hablándome sobre geografía, sobre los tipos de anfibios o tipos de animales que encuentran en los campos desabiertos. Algunas cosas que realmente yo desconocía.
So I think that has opened their mind more to the outdoors. So I mean, that's amazing. My 7-year-old, he's the one that's into, lizards or whatever you find out here in nature. So it's like, yeah, and that's pretty awesome. I like it. They love it.
Letting these kids use their creativity and use their curiosity in ways where they can like positively impact their own lives and drive them to like explore new things, open career futures for them, something that they're interested in, something that they're passionate about.
Yo pienso que es bueno para la comunidad, porque en primer lugar uno conoce gente, conoce nuevas familias.
Y aquí nos hemos encontrado con personas que viven cerca de sus propias casas y nunca se han hablado. Entonces para mí es tan importante que aquí estamos todos unidos como familia y que se van con una sonrisa todos, que se van contentos.
Nature Kids is like, wow, that is pretty cool. I mean, I love it. Because when I grew up, I didn't have that part,
Nos dan la oportunidad de convivir con los hijos y conocemos más de Colorado, porque en los 19 años no hemos conocido nada, solo trabajar y trabajar. Entonces esa es mi experiencia. Me he sentido muy cómoda, pues se me olvidan los problemas de afuera. Sí.
Y que aparte, cuando tienes niños que son aislados de la comunidad, se han dado cuenta la importancia de estar en la naturaleza para poder expresar sus emociones.
Conocer la naturaleza, yo creo lo más bonito, yo lo estoy viviendo con mi hijo, no estar en la casa nada más viendo televisión, no estar haciendo otras cosas, sino estar conociendo cosas de la naturaleza. Para ellos es lo mejor, tanto mentalmente, físicamente y emocionalmente.
Nature Kids is helping you get out of that bubble society is trying to put you in of cell phones and trying to stay in your room and trying to not really go outside with people. So it's kind of a place to just open your mind and let it run around and talk to people you've never seen before, or see things you've never known before, or just try new things that you've never like thought about, like going boating or fishing, or things you've never really thought that you could do because of money situations or family situations. It's just a place to like escape and breathe and feel like you're drowning, or a place to see when you feel like you're kind of lost in the dark.
From my experience, I feel like this program means a lot to the community. Nature Kids is something that has changed a lot of people's lives. And for these families and these kids to be out doing these experiences, I mean, they would probably never do them, on their own. I know that those experiences last a lifetime.
Right. Rachel, we finished the video. Oh, and I made you do some more. There we go.
Yeah, so I'm happy to answer questions. I'm really excited to spend this time in a couple of weeks with Taylor and David and two folks from youth and oh my god, I'm still a little foggy.
Children, youth, and families.
But human services, children, youth, and families, right? So I think that'll be really, really awesome for us to spend some time together and meet and get to learn more from them about where we can go too.
Yeah, and just to quickly talk about Nature Everywhere. So yeah, that's Rachel's mentioned. This is where we're going in 2 weeks. David, Rachel, me, and yeah, two from Children, Youth, and Families. Human Services are heading to Austin for a Vision Lab. It's something we applied for and we got awarded just a few weeks ago, really. And it's a national program, and it sort of will help us kickstart this whole thing. It's a 2-year process where this program helps us work with communities to get, develop focus groups and figure out what the communities want, and then they set up sort of a framework. They have all the templates to sort of set these programs up, develop strategies, make it happen, and then kind of measure things as we go along. And it also comes with some potential funding opportunities, seed grants that I think are 10 to 50K, and then catalyst grants after our 2 years is up for continuing to develop programs. So with, Rachel mentioned kind of potential GoCo funding in the future, and it's sort of a drop in the bucket, but it's also a significant opportunity, and it helps us get the ball rolling. So yeah, I think that's the gist.
The other partner in that though is also Longmont Foundation?
Yeah, Longmont Community Foundation is the other member of our core team, besides Thorn and then us and Human Services. But we'll be working with other nonprofits and organizations and businesses potentially throughout this process. But yeah, that's the core team, is Longmont Community Foundation, Children, Youth, and Families, Community Neighborhood Resources, us, Parks and Natural Resources, and then Thorn.
So I think part of what was in the board packet last time mentioned building an outdoor equity vision. Is that part of what you guys will be doing?
I don't really know what was in the packet last time, but yes.
It was in your updates on that.
Oh, sure, yes, and this is exactly that. This is, the whole thing is building in or improving youth outdoor equity in Longmont. So the goal will be serving these underserved communities, as much as possible.
And I want to just add that one of the things that we've found in the environmental education world is that there's a lot of organizations who want to engage with communities they haven't historically been able to engage with, but don't feel like they have the resources or skills. And so that's been one of the pieces that we've been able to help fill, and I think we'll be able to work really closely with others at the city to figure out how to best do it in Longmont, because in Lafayette, for example, we have 2 community liaisons who speak fluent Spanish, are from the community, local to the community, their children engage in programming too, and their whole job is to break down barriers. So they are going to families' houses and helping them navigate e-packed summer camp system that I have a hard time navigating despite all my privileges, and buy kids boots if they are ready to go to camp and don't have the stuff on the list, and really do really do everything we can to make sure that those barriers don't exist. And so because there are so many programs who want to engage but either can't or haven't chosen to commit their resources we found that not every organization needs its own person if they're willing to be a part of a collaborative that is thinking about this holistically, willing to put in the work to make sure that there's equity in their programming, but not necessarily able to hire somebody to put in all the legwork, like, that we can hire that person sort of centrally. So, you know, that equity is at the core of of this whole effort. And equity looks different in different communities. It's not, you know, that's at the core of equity, but that is the central focus of all of the things that we're trying to do here.
Well, in that packet on camp last time we asked us to bring Taylor in, was there something, Paige, that you're looking at this board may be able to help contribute with, or what was your?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to learn more about what was planned for Longmont and understand how the board can stay engaged as you guys sort of pursue this and, help support and understand the efforts.
Totally. And I mean, Rachel touched on this, but we don't really know exactly what it's going to look like until we have time to reach out to the community and run sort of some pilot programming next year. So is it gonna look like community gardens or a variety of different stewardship opportunities or nature play, or, it'll probably be a combination of those things, just like it was in Lafayette. But as far as like on the ground, what's it gonna look like, we won't know for another year or two what it's really gonna look like. And I think the plan, Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong, is to, get this started next year and then really get it started the following year and then continue on sort of indefinitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's our hope, and that's the way it's worked so far in Lafayette, is that, we did a year of community engagement and outreach to assess how we could be most valuable and most helpful. Hang on, honey, give me a minute. Sorry, and then, like I said, we're going into year 7 of programming, and we know we have enough funding for at least 2 more years in Lafayette, but the other thing that we found in Lafayette and for Thorne as well is that this programming brings in new folks who are excited about this programming and who want to support the kinds of big picture, big scale things that we're doing. We got approached, Thorne, this was prior to me, but by the Outdoor Foundation, which is the philanthropic arm of the Outdoor Industry Association, the big national organization, to say like, hey, we have money for collective impact programs and we've heard of what you're doing, can we give it to you on a large scale? So we anticipate that Longmont will be just as exciting, and I firmly believe that exciting programming brings funding, not the other way around. So that's where we hope that this will go, and it'll be sustainable moving forward. And the one other thing I'll say, as a former partner, so at Wildlife Restoration Volunteers, I was on the partner side, is that a lot of the partners ended up, WRV, ended up bringing a lot of this into the way that we operated, and so that's also breeds sustainability, because partners are taking it on and trying to adapt their programming with that equity lens in ways that they haven't before. So I think, that's the anticipation, is that this will be something to go forward into the sustainability as a sort of a platform from the very beginning.
Great, thanks. Are there any questions from the board?
It looked like from the video that there are volunteer opportunities here
Oh yeah.
for
Totally.
community groups, more
Yes.
individuals.
Yeah, stewardship will definitely be a big piece of this. I would assume anyways, Rachel, it seems like it's been a big piece of the ones you've done in the past, and if I'm involved, then that's something that I care about, so. Yes, stewardship will definitely be a piece of this.
I can just think of service organizations in town.
Exactly.
Absolutely,
If they watch that video and listen to this presentation, would line up to be involved.
So if I can soapbox for just a minute on this one, because Rachel, you did hit another piece with other organizations that want to do this, they don't have capacity, they don't have, I think the time and effort that this group's putting into this is going down to figure out how you engage the community. Being with Boulder County for almost 20 years, they were constantly figuring out how they take a big white county van, drive to these underserved communities, load a bunch of kids, and take them to Hall Ranch and show them how they would enjoy bird watching. We had this great opportunity to get kids engaged in their own backyard, and I think this conversation started with Keith and myself down at Dickens when Steve opened that nature play area that's really in a comfort area that is connected to their neighborhood park, their community park, their backyards. But our trail system will eventually get them comfortable there that trail gets from Sandstone Ranch, that trail system will get them to the state park. Eventually it'll get them to Boulder County properties. So I think this is just a great opportunity to get this started and then start building with other partners as we get this group feeling really comfortable in something that Longmont has a very unique opportunity to make people feel comfortable with nature almost in their backyard. So I'm super excited about it.
Yeah.
Sorry you got stuck with me. We had to feel back at the last minute, so I'm going to Austin and not really
That'll
sure
be
what we're
great.
doing, but.
I'm looking forward to it. I am hearing some imploding out there, so unless there's any other pressing questions for me, I'm gonna go put a 5-year-old to bed.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you. Hopefully, sometime in the future I can come in person, and I look forward to working with y'all.
Totally.
Great,
Thank
thanks.
you, Rachel.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, sounds like a great opportunity, so definitely keep us posted.
Great, we will. And I'm sure Kayla will be glad to come back and talk about
Totally,
this
yeah.
as well as our other volunteer opportunities for what she's working on and for other members of the community too.
Yeah, as things move and change, I'll be more of a presence here as this is exciting and big,
It's
so
exciting, yeah.
it'll be cool. Cool, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome, thanks for coming.
Totally.
Do you want to just finish out new business? This
Sure.
won't take too long, will it?
No. Need 2 board members to participate with David and I to do preliminary interviews for board candidates, and then we will make recommendations to city council.
What's the timing on that?
So sometime after the 13th, and it would be, right now, we only have 2 candidates, and we need 3.
2 of the candidates are like.
Yes, they're incumbents.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm-
Nick
Okay.
and Scott have applied. And Dan, if you're not aware, he's term limited out and cannot apply again until he takes a break. So, but I would,
So
yeah.
Nick and I did it last time, so if anyone is interested, Dan, if you want to make it your parting influence in shaping
Sure,
the
I
board.
know. Well, I was just curious if this is
Yeah.
a daytime, I forgot what you did before.
It'll probably be during the day.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting, yeah. You want
I'd be happy to, yeah, I've got interviewing
Great.
experience as well, so.
Thank you.
I had a question about that process while we're on the topic. I saw a note somewhere that the board and commission vacancies were open, but the website doesn't list them as open. And there's also a city page that lists the previous period of April as being the current one. So I'm worried,
Yeah,
I'm worried there's some problems getting people to apply because the site implies that you can't apply yet.
I don't know anything about that, but.
Basically, if you go to PrimeGov, it says start date to be confirmed, end date to be confirmed, status upcoming.
For which?
For every single board and commission, it says upcoming and those dates right now.
No, because I've seen people that have applied already to the art and public places as well.
You can
as
apply,
Parks
I'm just saying if you look at that,
Right.
it looks like you shouldn't apply yet.
Gotcha.
So for every single one, it says to be confirmed and status upcoming.
Yeah, I don't know
Even for all the
anything
ones
about
that are
that,
open.
but I'll check with the clerk.
It might be worth, I don't know if you can extend the period, but it seems, like, I looked to see if somebody else would apply for some things, since I can only man one at a time, of course. But it seemed to me like it wasn't ready yet. And also on the city website.
Which is bizarre, because it's been open since early September. You applied like.
The first day or something.
Yeah.
When they come back.
Right.
Also, one of the city web pages about boards and commissions listed as April. Like, there's 2 pages under applying, and one lists the right date, and one lists the last.
Well, the boards are split, and some are mid-year, and some are at end of the year. So I'll look
Yeah.
at that and get with the clerk's office to make sure. For example, the library filled in June.
Yeah,
and
yeah, so like this page application process lists the right date. Sorry, lists see this says Friday, April 21st, and closes June 17th. And then if you go to the top one, so if you go to the second one, application process is correct, but the boards and commissions one is the wrong date.
Huh.
So just some confusing stuff that made me think it wasn't really open yet. Maybe we'll get more than 2 incumbent applicants then.
What page are you looking at?
There's
a page that says deadline to apply October 13th.
if you click on boards, commissions, and commissions, boards, committees, and commissions above that, it's a similar page that also has a similar button that says the different dates. It's really weird, like if you click on boards, commissions, and boards, committees, and commissions, it goes to application process and has the wrong date. Click on application process again, and now it has the right date.
That website update can't come soon enough.
Don't hold your breath though, because
Yeah, I
it's
will.
still a long way.
I don't know how you get there from here, I just, yeah, I don't know how you get there from here.
Yeah,
Exactly.
anyway.
Everyone here,
It's
exactly.
just
Everyone
like,
has a unique experience.
if I assume all the boards want lots of
Fact,
applicants, and
sign
it's just
the
saying,
birth
it's hard to get
certificate.
there.
As soon as we do that.
All right, thanks.
All right. Okay, let's move back up to old business. Library, recreation, and culture ballot initiative update.
So I really don't have a lot to update. I did notice when I was at home that the information flyer, I received it today. Did anybody else receive it?
I got it yesterday, I think.
Did you?
Let's
The
get
city.
physical.
No, the
No,
city.
No, the
City-
city official.
The 3 ballot questions on it. So, and then we have meetings that we'll be participating, staff and I, and then Scott with his role on Wednesday of this week at the YMCA, and the next 2 Wednesdays on Zoom, the next 2 after that, the 18th and 25th. So that's all I had.
Any questions from folks about the?
I'm a little out of it. How's the attendance been at the previous meetings?
Pretty bad. I mean, hockey was better. I mean, we had probably 20 people at hockey, 10 maybe at swimming the week before. It's just generally really tough to get people to engage. Red Tails was not interested in at all in participating, and we really got a negative response because they wanted millions extra and didn't understand that the pool is going to go away. They kept on thinking of it as like, well, this is going to be an inconvenient replacement of the pool to have the Y there, and not that as a resource that needs to be updated and replaced. That's it's a little bit of a recurring theme. People count lanes that exist already and assume that there's not much of a change, and you can't see the fact that like if you don't invest in new infrastructure, then we have less than what we have now. So so it's really kind of tough there. Pickleball came out and said that they've been like hammering their people because they love very inexpensive indoor courts, so they are very excited about the new rec center and pickleball in. So they're taking
Rhythm go for you.
Rhythm went great, like tons of great people to talk to. By and far, if you live in Southwest Longmont, you are for it. The only concern is traffic, and a little bit more recently, the ski hill. Like that's the other one that has come up as the 2 issues. They're there, but by and far, people in Southwest Longmont are for it, and they're like, thank goodness it's taken forever to get to here and that sort of thing. People in the rest of the city, really people north of town feel like they're being cut off, and new people in town are getting something and they don't get to have something. And there's just there's a lot of angst and not maybe angst, but anxiety or like around the why. Why the why? Why doesn't the city invest in a rec center instead? There's like a million questions around doing the Y rec center at Centennial Pool. So no matter how much countering that's there, I don't think we really get over the hump of convincing a lot of people like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is a great alternative. Part of it, I have to say, and this is going to be my question, is that the city promised an MOU with a Y to go public a while ago and hasn't happened yet, and some clarification around pricing that hasn't happened. So both of those things hinder us in terms of discussing, is it the Y, is there naming rights with the city in the Y, which we talked about in July, and we haven't moved on any of those issues. So these are things that are not on the ballot that the city could still be working with the Y to get together. But we have these public meetings and there's still a little conflict when we have discussions of pricing, naming, access, those sort of things, that cause, the Y part to be like, oh, well, if I'm not for that, then I guess I'm not for anything. And that's what's gonna probably take down the rec center. For people who are interested but are concerned, people who don't wanna pay for infrastructure are gonna vote no for all 3 items, point blank. And that's a huge amount of people. So.
Did you want to pose that question then?
Yeah, so I'd like to pose a question. We don't have an MOU in the city?
I've met with legal a couple of times, it's in their court. So
Okay.
I asked again today, because I knew you were gonna ask that tonight.
Yeah.
But I will let the board know as soon as I hear back on it.
Okay, yeah, it's, yeah, I mean, there's, people are concerned, I mean, the Y doesn't know what, they just call it, the Y themselves. It's hard to then, if it's Y branded only, what's the $12 million worth of, public investment? What did we get out of it? And I try to say that I would think that there's some naming rights involved, with the $12 million investment, but that's just me, private citizen, saying that.
But the Y has committed that it
They-
doesn't need to just be the Y.
But they haven't
Okay.
committed that I mean, it's all branded just as Y. They don't even write like City of Longmont Y on any of their flyers or any of their information.
Gotcha.
And so that, with that, it looks like the Y is building the center by itself, and the city's gonna give them $12 million and off to the races. And so there isn't a lot in the language. I have the Y hockey and the Y facility flyers outside if anybody wants to take a look at them. But it's, but it is really like, doesn't look like fully like a partnership. It looks really like Y produced a number of things. City communications had nothing to do with it. And so, we kind of run into that sort of issue where we knew there were gonna be issues about North Longmont, and namings and using the Y as calling it a third rec center, is tough when we don't know those equity access issues and naming rights and things like that. Because people go like, it's not really, you're just giving them money and land. And
Yes,
still the Y.
to take care of a $23 million problem.
No,
Yeah. But I think that has not been very clear. I think people still think that if this doesn't happen, they'll get a new centennial pool.
It will force, I've heard several times that, that it will force the city's hand to fix Centennial Pool, even if it costs more, but it's not the Y. And I don't know if people really have an issue with the Y, it's just that it's some other entity. And so, that's the concern, so.
So having the chance to talk to those different groups, did you feel like there's anything that helped get people over that hump, that people that can speak about this could start using? Was there something that you felt like a little more of a winning?
Well, I mean, we've talked about like that, city council has already discussed about equity and access, and that, both Chris and Jeff and I think even Ben have all said that hockey pricing has been basically the same between the Y and the city, and so those prices will be the same. And so given that, you can do the ... Maybe the prices are really, really close afterwards, but I can't say that. So I think
I don't agree with that, Scott. I think we have agreed on everything, and I wasn't gonna call Chris out in a public meeting saying that. But he just referred to ice. I don't believe that to be true. I think it's everything.
Oh, well, it's everything. I'll introduce on Wednesday right off the front.
I will reach out to him tomorrow and vet that.
Yeah, because it's a real concern with like senior citizens who are figuring out pricing. Like, how does this work? And he took me aside too and asked, well, listen, we still have to sell memberships here and stuff. And yeah, but we're not talking that 100% of people are going to be doing memberships. Like, some people already have a rec pass will be able to use your facility. So, yeah. And so, yeah, it's tough with all these questions, so.
I'm looking at an email that I received just a couple of hours ago from a resident, a Ward 1 resident, who is so confused about the issues. I mean, trying to respond to this email to explain is probably not gonna be very effective. It's just, people have conflated issues and they've so misconstrued what the proposal is, that it's tough breaking that down.
Well, yeah, I mean, we get way ahead of ourselves. There's a lot of people who are way ahead of the entire thing, thinking it's building affordable housing on the Y property, and why are you destroying the Y? And people who love the Y are like, why is the city coming in and blowing up the Y? I mean, it's just like, wow, there's just not enough budget to take over all of these things, or people are way beyond. And there's a couple of candidates who have made it very difficult to, they're in organizations who are not helping, who don't know what's going on, so. Yeah.
I'm better off just being quiet.
So it's, so, and the good news is that I thought the signs were actually landed today. Unfortunately, I have 1,000 sign stakes instead. So it looks like the signs will be around Wednesday or Thursday. Hopefully they'll get in by the time we get to the Y meeting. So tons of yard signs, so think about it.
So I had a related question that I had asked Jeff. I had hoped that we would be able to get Bill Greenwald to come, but as I think you've noted, the transportation board meets at the same time we meet. Just because one of the questions I do hear from Southwest Longmont from people that live there is about the traffic around Dry Creek. I hear, people have gone down, they're like, I love this, I love this, I love this, but, traffic around Dry Creek is a nightmare. Is this gonna make it worse? And, I've been assuming that the city would not intentionally make a bad situation worse, that they would likely implement, they would do a study, they would implement, planning aspects that would help maybe even make the situation better. And I was hoping that we could get some details from Phil, not about what they would commit to, but about what are the steps that the city would take and how would they address a situation like this if the ballot initiative passes. But we got maybe some informal information, but no formal information from him. So I'm not sure if you have any more you want to share.
No. All I know is that any facility like this rec center or the library has to go through a process that not only is about transportation, but it's about what's included in the facility, how it's managed, how we deal with stormwater, and the list goes on. Transportation is a very big part of that. If the study defines that we need to do calming devices or traffic lights, that all falls on the project to do that. And the project cannot move forward unless those things are addressed. And so I don't know what else I can say beyond that, but the city has a very big process that if this passes, we're gonna need to work through it.
I just, to Jeff's credit, I'm kind of pushing this a little bit too. We've brought this up to that planning group for over a year probably, as this has been coming up and kind of asking, but it was hard to get even internal staff saying we're gonna spend time and effort on this when we don't know if it's going to be, there's so much stuff on the plate right now. I think, Jeff, like he mentioned, if this passes, there will be all the right people that have at least knowledge of this coming down the pike towards them, that hopefully will be, putting in the time to help answer those questions.
And the other side that I'll say is that the emergency side of things, fire has made it very clear that we can't just have the one access, that there'll have to be multiple accesses into the site, and we've talked about that here a couple of times. But it's challenging sitting on this side where I can't say anything. And I think one of the frustrations that adds to what you're saying, Tim and Scott, is the city's not talking, we're not given any of this information, and that becomes a real challenge, because our legal folks have said that we cannot do that. And that means if we're not talking, people are making up or filling in the gaps, which generally are never good.
Yeah, you leave a vacuum, it's gonna get filled.
Yeah, no, it's definitely very unfortunate. I mean, you can see that play out just in talking to people about how people, come to their own conclusions. And, I will say, like, I think even with the swimming meeting, which was painful, but there was, like, after you went around and, like, kind of got some of the actual, like, got some of the angst out and some of the details that at least the Y could offer, and, the limited of what we know about the rec center, it did, I mean, I feel like people started to see a little bit, the benefit that it might be there for them, and, the lanes and but
there was 9 people there.
A lot, right,
Yeah.
and it was 9 people.
It's
and
hard
they
to
were-
overcome the conflating of RTD and fast tracks and what that's done to public trust, right? That got conflated in that meeting with the Y. You say, how do you make that connection? And then I heard a reference to that vote we took on the swimming pool that the
Right, and the
school
swimming
district built, and you
pool,
wanna say,
right.
ma'am, you didn't take the vote on that. How do you pause to say, could you just check
Right.
yourself and the information that you think you've consumed or you're using to make this decision? It's frustrating,
This might be a tricky question to answer, so it's fine if it's a non-answer. Is the city like the law side of things, the legal team, is there something unique about this project that means that it can't be shared so easily? Or this is just pretty standard?
It's their interpretation of what we can do to stay.
And I think the challenge, and Tim, jump in here, when you're asking for a street tax, it's a pretty simple thing. It's an either-or thing. When you start talking about recreation facilities or libraries, location becomes such a big thing. Jumping way ahead to what color are the walls? Well, I don't even know. And those are kind of some of the things that people are asking that are a year down the road from where we're at today. And it just seems that, and I'm trying to be really careful here, is that if the city is going to put things on the ballot, we need to take some of the restraints off and trust that staff are going to be able to give information without crossing the line of advocating or being against something.
Part of his job is to
Wholeheartedly agree with
help you and us get this on the ballot. The legal department's primary mission, they're risk averse, is to keep the city or anybody in it, getting employed by it, from crossing any lines. So the question is never, what are you trying to accomplish and how do I help you accomplish that and stay legal? It's always, here are the things you can't do. You start from just a very different.
The quality of the city. I mean, and the quality of the facilities in the city.
Say again?
It's going to impact the quality of what
is.
the city can do and what the city is able to become.
Yep.
And I don't know if arm's length is like the right answer. If like the city, if you're gonna spend whatever you spend on doing the rec center study and getting all the preliminaries done, throwing $50,000 or $100,000 to a marketing communications company to be an arm's length away from the city to do that for the city would be ridiculously helpful for any project that's there, or all 3 projects at the same time, or whatever it is, because I just hear the questions on all 3 of them are very similar sort of things that the city can't talk about, and it's not helpful that we've already spent taxpayer money building to a thing, which already then shows that city and staff are for it because they've decided to put resources towards this, and then cut off at an arbitrary point in time and then not be able to contribute anymore. I think it's just overly conservative. But
Yeah, and then you add going to a public meeting where the Y has no
No
restrictions, and then I look like a complete bump on a log by saying, I don't know, I can't respond to that. It is a very awkward place.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and there, I mean, there are people who you might hear for like a half an hour at Rhythm at Roosevelt about glass work next to the fitness area and how hot the glass is gonna be. I was like, oh, you've gotta be kidding me. This is just a rendering. This doesn't mean, like, they're just thinking pretty windows, whatever. Well, they'll figure it out, whatever. I had an architect come up, he's like, oh, I'm retired. Who are the architects for doing this? Because you would never want to do that. I'm like, are you a voter and are you gonna vote for it or not? Like, that's what I really need to know. And it just, so it's, yeah, it's really, like, a lot of people have their own things, but like swimming kind of like, the issues really was on the swimming group, since it was so small, it was just like they were picturing their kid who may be like a freshman or a sophomore, and if the pool goes away and how it affects their development of their swimming for their kid right then and there. Not swimming in general, not even their company, which is Red Tails. They were talking really about this individualistic like approach to voting, which is really against what we're doing here. We're trying to build something for a community, not just for you. We didn't have a meeting just for you to have a meeting. We did it for you to represent swimming in the city, and that's the part that I think is really frustrating, is that we don't have that. I don't know if we lost more of it because of COVID or because of politics or social media, whatever the excuse. Like it was like, it's kind of depressing that there isn't more of how can I help in the community more. It's more of like, what does this specifically mean to me, and weighing traffic concerns and how long it takes me to get to my middle school over whether or not the city should be able to access, have 30,000, 50,000 more people access a rec center, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the kind of sad things for me to observe, and hopefully there's still time, there's still a chance, there's opportunities for people to engage, but I think it does really take a community kind of civic minded approach. I mean, all of these ballot initiatives, that you have to want the community to be better and have more opportunities and not vote solely on your own personal interests.
I was gonna ask, you mentioned the mailer going out. Can there be a digital version of that on the website for the city?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing right now. But if we
Yeah,
can get that posted.
it's pretty hot off the presses.
Okay.
So.
That'll be good, because right now there's no presence at all beyond the ballot language, and that'll be a good start.
Yeah.
Any other?
Yeah, I'll tell you that flyer says no more than what's already on there.
Yeah, you're talking about like the 8-page flyer?
No, there was a fold out that
okay.
was mailed out.
The county one came, the county.
Oh, it's the county one then, yeah.
Yeah, it's from the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, also, there'll be a whole other project that I'll take on after this, is that the city's clerk's office needs to be more communicative of how things work, because just reading through Colorado's statute in order to figure out when deadlines are, and then find out that deadlines also have noon or something that's on there, but yet we have our own elections commission, elections board and rules, but it doesn't say those dates. So there doesn't, when it's public time to comment or whatever, is not even stated in our rules, which are supposed to supersede or the generic rules. And so it's really frustrating as an organization to say, okay, well, who's the authority? Is it Boulder County elections, or is it the city of Longmont? And whose dates and times are we supposed to follow? Because the city clerk's section is 4 pages, and it's really about accounting and paperwork. It has nothing to do with communications and how you go about your business. So it's a tough process for a new organization to be supportive in that way. The state, by the way, in the Tabor notice, didn't list the city of Longmont. It listed Boulder County as the appropriate authority to talk to about elections, by the way. So, there you go. So, we're not even listed as the elections authority for our city.
Because we're not.
Yeah.
Boulder County is.
Yeah.
We can set our own deadlines in terms of petitions and whatnot, but in terms of regulating elections, we've conceded all that to Boulder County. Yeah, we don't have the capacity to run our own elections.
So we sent our.
You're
pro-
talking
we
about
sent-
more like giving comments or.
Yeah, so there's a comment deadline that's in the Colorado statute. And so we sent it to Boulder County. It took them 3 hours to get back and said, we're not the ones you're supposed to send it to. You're supposed to send it to the city. Now it's after 12 o'clock. Then they're like, oh, by the way, it was 12 o'clock. You got it in for us, but we're not the right ones. And I was like, oh, I just felt like on the Tabor notice that would be the one that I would use. But no, so live and learn, right? You would think that maybe one of these communications, when you sign up as a committee, these are some of the things you should know, right? That would be helpful. So.
Well, maybe that post-election cause you'll pick up beyond the city clerk's office on election information is leading a community conversation about the balance between individual rights and the common good or the public good.
Yeah.
Because that's what we've totally lost an understanding of. The fact that we sit in this building because some other generation thought it was worthy, right, of the community to have a place like this to sit in,
right,
or a park like that to play in, right?
Yeah.
And we've just lost it.
Right.
I'm still holding out hope.
Oh yeah, exactly. Still holding on hope. So
Well, I shared the, I saw on I saw on the Facebook feed, my Facebook feed, the social media post. Hope everybody shares that, right? Not just likes it, right?
Right,
So
yeah, exactly.
Get that to go viral.
Right,
So,
yeah. And I've gotten dinged a couple times with Facebook because there are election rules and
yeah,
maybe I didn't click the button correctly sometimes. But it's, but whatever. It reach out to people at the same time. So, but yeah, we're, hopefully get out to more and more people, and there's some, stats and social media things that will be happening. So, unfortunately, the school district has decided, the school district is not taking a position on any of the city election points, and the school district's foundation says that it cannot take a position, even though it's recreation would be in the benefit of students, and both the Y Recreation Center and the new Recreation Center are located right next to their schools. I wanted to have just give me an impact statement of, building these.
Did you ask the PTOs by chance? Because I think they were separate.
Yeah, the PTOs are separate entities. I just started with the district and the foundation first, so, yeah. But, yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
No.
All right.
I could go on and on.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on items from the packet?
I had a couple.
Go for it.
On Thompson Park, great that the meetings got scheduled for the renewal.
Mailers went out today.
Maybe I was gonna say, could they be added to the city calendar as meetings? They're not on there
So
right
we
now.
can look into that.
Okay, cool. They're on the website, they were there a few days ago, so pretty familiar. There was a note about prairie dog relocation from Keltner Open Space, and I just looked for it and I have no idea where that is.
Keltner?
Yeah,
It is
it's not
actually-
labeled on any maps I could find. on the
No,
website.
it's north of Union Reservoir, just north of, I pull up in here, but it's Union Reservoir, County Road 28 is the road that's north of Union Reservoir. It's it's owned by Water Resources, that fund owns it. And we had worked on that property, tried to do some agriculture on it, and we've been working with the tenants to remove some prairie dogs on that to try to get
Gotcha.
the agriculture operation.
So it's not city-owned open space?
It's city-owned, but again, within the city, we have funds that kind of lock us
Okay.
into how we manage certain properties. And that one is owned by the city, but it's owned and purchased through the water fund.
Okay, cool.
So this is Keltner. Right here, this is probably, you can probably see some
Prairie dogs.
prairie dogs
Yeah.
that were
Okay.
within that agricultural area.
And
It's
then-
very hard to
Okay,
irrigate.
cool.
Yeah.
The other one I was asked about was there was a mention of Dry Creek #1, the extension from Sam's Club to Sunset, and starting next year. Is there any, are there any resources about the design for that, or is that in design?
That
It's in
act-
design,
It's in design,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, I just actually had a,
Because there's no website spot for it. The other ones are quite well supported, but I couldn't tell where that was going.
You wanna talk about Stephanie, because it's a project that, again, because us getting some new project managers really helping out, but engineering is taking this one on, I believe.
It's right here, and I'll go into more of a zoomed in Google Earth view. So right now the sidewalk, the trail ends. So it'll continue along the ditch, and then at this cul-de-sac street, it'll then be a bike lane, and the bike lane will take you to Sunset.
Great.
More to come on that, though. I'll give you updates as I get information, and I'll update Stephanie as well.
Any other questions?
I just have a quick question. So with Sledding Hill, you don't know what kind of soils are getting brought back and when yet,
We'll
right?
find out
We'll find out.
what and when, but I'll get both of those at 2 different times most likely.
Okay, because, yeah, someone has asked, when will the Sledding Hill, I'm like, well, it's in the master plan, we just don't know when dirt gets placed versus
Exactly.
when a
Sequencing
sledding hill
is
is
different,
made is two different levels of.
Do you know if signage is up about that? Because I've had a lot of people who have been surprised to learn that the sledding hill is going away, and I'm like, well, it's going away regardless, and
Yeah,
last time we discussed signage was supposed to be there.
Well, it starts whenever they hire a contractor. So once they execute a contract with the contractor and then they have a time frame, then they'll put out the signage to alert the community.
Well, we couldn't put a
How far
sign up
ahead?
now,
Just
just saying that.
to be determined.
Yeah, it's city of
Because
Longmont.
it isn't a sledding hill.
Right.
It's used as a sledding hill.
Right.
Now, we'll talk to that team that's working on awarding that contract to see if we can get something out there.
Yeah, just to
Don't
like,
write,
heads up.
blame it on Jeff.
Yeah.
Blame it on that.
Yeah, it's actually.
Yeah.
You called it ski hill a couple times too. Growing
Oh,
up in
yeah,
Michigan,
yeah.
that definitely could have been a ski.
Yeah,
hill.
yeah, little towns in New England, it's the same too. So thank you for cleaning up the bollards on, Price, that looks great. Signage though, are we still waiting on?
We are. So those will be installed in November. They're being fabricated currently. Let's see, detour. So we have a few updates on the detour. So yeah, the sign's coming. The city has ordered a solar powered flashing cross signal at Boston. The solar piece was critical since there was no power source there. And I believe that they're awaiting the material delivery date on that one. So they've already procured it, it's gonna arrive and they'll get that installed. As you mentioned, the bollards have been cleaned up, repaired, and replaced. These signs will be installed in November. The 27 additional signs that are needed to come around this location. When I count their little icons, I count 30. So I don't know if there's 3 that already exist, but they gave me a quote of 27. So then there will also be flashers installed up here at the crossing area of the trail across Sunset, right near the railroad tracks. And then Boston has yet to become a 25-mile-an-hour construction zone. I did reach out to them and I haven't heard back on that time frame. So I know you guys have probably seen that it's well underway. They've closed a portion of the road over here. So
Yeah, well, this isn't necessarily for you, but it's, the westbound, bike lane all of a sudden becomes a storage area for, barrels, traffic barrels, right before and across the bridge. So as you're going west on Boston, all of a sudden, there's a bunch of traffic barrels just in the bike lane as you go over the bridge, so.
well, I do know that they had planned on doing, this is gonna be a very controlled area for a lot of the project.
Right.
With pretty extreme traffic control. I went through there today and, it was the whole slow down and stop, but the people on the side of the road.
Yeah, they have flankers and stuff.
Right, but like right now, or like at 5:30, nobody was there, and so if you were riding home, you all of a sudden have to get pushed into the,
We can see if we can get like their plan. I can't speak to what it is, but I can ask them to see if there's something they can do to keep those free when
Okay.
they're not working.
Yeah, I just.
As long as there's not a safety concern.
Yeah, I would just like it that, like, we treat bike lanes, like, we build a bike lane, we should treat it as the way we're using a motor vehicle lane. And build the detour first, then start doing the work. Don't put barrels in the way, don't like say it's gonna come. People are then gonna do a dangerous move and move out in a narrow bridge to get around a barrel that shouldn't be there in the first place. A sign that's gonna be put up in weeks doesn't help the person who gets hit like tomorrow, because they're avoiding some of the construction traffic. So we build all those construction detours well in advance for motor vehicles. We should do the same thing for, yeah.
And to piggyback off of that too, I mean, it does reduce usage, because once you've gone through once, you go, oh crap, I'm not doing that again. Then
Right,
go
yeah,
somewhere else.
exactly.
And it just reduces more recreation.
Any other questions? I had one on the GOCO planning grant. Said the staff is intending to apply for grant funding in 2023 to support planning and land management and regional trail planning. So I just wondered if you have more information about that.
Is that Danielle or is that you?
That would be Danielle.
That would be Danielle. So we're working with Phil Greenwald, and we're just looking at opportunities to work. We've got some really, again, these trails we've been working at, moving out. Foresight, buying that original open space property out at Boulder Creek Estates, linking in with now Weld County and some Meads and other areas that really want to do regional planning and stuff. So it's opportunities that we're looking at. There's nothing right now, but probably the biggest one in that is going to be the one that as you come up through Sandstone Ranch, under 119 into the state park, that one coming back on County Road 26 is one that we're really working with that collaborative group. Weld County is taking the lead on that project, but again, using those dollars for that as well.
So there will be a proposal in the fall for funding to support planning?
I'll have to check with Danielle, but that's my understanding. And really, Phil, and actually Transportation is helping us take a lead on this too.
Okay, yeah. If you have any more
Yeah.
info that you can share, that'd be great. Any other questions from the packet? Okay, any items from staff?
For me.
I can share a couple things. There's just my house. So we had a couple, I did want to update on Spring Gulch 2, Phase 3. So this is today.
I saw that.
They're
Yeah,
working
yeah,
on it.
here we go.
Yeah. So, this is where Phase 2 ended and this is where Phase 3 starts. So that'll be completed in July. And Trish that was here was she's our new one.
Sorry she left before you
I
got to
know.
introduce her.
I didn't want to, we'll have to get them on the agenda
Yeah.
for November, because I'll have a second senior PM as well starting. So, but this is gonna be, she's gonna be the, so Alden is managing this project, but Trish is gonna be supporting him from our department, so she's gonna be on that. And then,
I'm sorry, remind me, red versus green here, what am I?
this is the new, the Phase 3 trail here.
Okay.
This I think is the ditch.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
The green is future once the reservoir expands, potential trail, I think.
Yeah, that's actually, I think this is going to be part of the phase loop trail around Union regardless of expansion, but yes.
Yeah, there's the legend there. And then we did have, I wanted to show the pretty pictures of Longmont. If anyone hasn't been out there, we have seen some reviews online that have been really positive from some of the moms and families that are using the parks just all over the Front Range. It even made a list, so that was pretty fun. The only items outstanding, there's a couple items up on the disc golf course that the vendor's working to complete, but otherwise everything's running, the restroom's open. Now the restroom will be closed soon for the winter, but it's open.
Yeah. A week or so.
Yeah.
That was last Sunday. Wasn't it the 2nd
It was the 15th.
October? Or was it 15th now? Okay.
I was out in the Miller on Saturday. It is amazing, and I asked people, and they were all very happy about it.
Okay.
So everything works perfectly. It's nice. Everything moves nice. There's nothing squeaks like a brand new car. Right? There's no sand and all the kid stuff. Yeah. But especially the climbing structure was amazing.
Yeah. It looks
And,
like fun.
It is very cool.
That's all I had.
Great. Any items from the board? Yeah.
I talked to the tennis folks there was a large tournament in September 7th, 10th. It goes for a week at Quail. They had over 314 people, competitors. 3/4 of those are from out of Longmont. So it has become a regional thing to do. It's become one of the larger Colorado tournaments. It's all run by the Longmont Tennis Association and volunteers and stuff. So the city doesn't do anything except turn on the power and let us use the courts. Almost all the reviews were 5-star. There's a whole registration system through the USTA, so you get a lot of feedback, which is nice. And almost all the reviews are 5-star. A couple of 4 stars dinged us for not enough shade. In case that were something you could think about. We've discussed this before. I know it's not in the current budget stream or anything. And it's grown a lot. The tournament's grown in the last 2 years. We moved it to September from June. The weather is way better.
Right.
You know, post-COVID, it's just, hey, it's something to do. The weather was just perfect this year. So anyway, it's a really good thing. We had people who actually got VRBOs, came from out of town, from Colorado Springs or Cheyenne, and it's like, for tennis, seriously? But apparently, we're a thing.
That could happen if
So
we
yeah.
had a hockey rink.
Well,
Just saying.
right. So anyway, the facility, I think a lot of folks appreciate it. If you're in Boulder right now, tennis is like going away, evaporating. Courts are disappearing. They're going to shut down the whole big, the Millennium Harvest House, whatever those courts are called. I mean, it's hard, and with pickleball growing and stuff.
So that's my next question, if you don't mind, if I can follow up on that.
Yeah.
With that response from the tennis community, are they feeling pressure from pickleball? Did we strike a pretty good balance?
Yes.
Are they? Okay.
I think we felt balanced.
They called and I've met with them and.
Okay.
Yeah. Said, I really don't want to do that, but it's that David guy. No, but we had a good conversation.
Okay.
We really have no intentions of converting any more tennis courts to pickleball. The next pickleball that will happen will be at Nino Gallo.
Right.
And then whatever happens at Quail campus. But we've really tried to explain to pickleball that we've done as much as we can for them right now, and that we also need to meet some needs of some other folks in our community. So.
Yeah, I mean, the tennis community is still very large in Longmont. Yeah. There's a lot of folks playing league. It's a huge revenue thing, not maybe necessarily for the city, except for court rental fees.
Right.
I mean, there is a lot of stuff going on. So it's not like we want to just fold up shop like outdoor hockey did, more or less. They're kind of evaporated, by comparison.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought I'd let you all know that it was a big deal.
Does USTA work with Visit Longmont in the promotion of this event?
I don't think USTA has much to do with it except put it on the
Or
webpage.
the Longmont Tennis Association?
Longmont Tennis Association does on their own. I don't know if they've done anything with Visit Longmont, but I will put that bug in their
Follow
ear.
up with Sarah.
Okay.
Because I can imagine all kinds of things they might do if people are checking into VRBOs with discounts downtown and food and beverage packages to go.
Well, LTA makes a big deal about finding our own sponsors, but we don't think we realize there's this resource that we could also tap
I'd
into.
take advantage of it.
Okay.
My guess is they'd be thrilled as well.
Sure, that makes sense. That is a good idea. Thank you.
So why is it doing so well in Longmont, not in Boulder?
Boulder has far fewer courts. They don't have a Quail facility. It's all private. Any large facility is private except for CU, which may or may not exist in another year or two, the South Campus.
Right.
So the only place with public courts similar to Longmont Close is Loveland. They have a whole set behind Loveland High School and then up northwest part of town. But Boulder, Louisville, Lafayette, there aren't public courts more than 4 courts in a park.
Right.
So to have 10 courts at Quail and have Affolter less than a mile away with 4 more courts is really a little special around here in this area.
I think it's just important for them to hear that as we're developing the new parks, we're not hearing anything about we need more tennis.
All right.
And that might be just a message, if
We
if
have
there
a
is
board
a
meeting
need,
soon.
if there is a need,
Right,
we're not hearing it.
okay,
Is that fair?
We hear more pickleball than.
Yes, absolutely.
right, okay. I will bring that, I think, yeah, I don't know what to think, but I'll bring that up and we'll see what the feedback is.
Okay.
Cool.
And we did remove some tape off of inline hockey because inline hockey is still out there and people are
Okay,
interested in
good.
those
Yeah.
as
Right.
well.
I was
So
glad to see
I also
that.
make sure that you,
Yeah, good.
We need to repaint the lines in that court though, but
okay.
I'll email you. Probably not in the winter.
Which one?
Well,
Blue Willow.
Oh,
that one actually gets a lot of use by.
is that the
in
Blue
hockey
Sky Park? What? No?
No, the bar.
Red
bar
barn.
people.
Oh, thank you, barn, yeah, got it.
season. Councilman Waters?
This may be my last meeting with this group as your liaison to council. Now, I realize November 13th, there's a meeting. I will be a lame duck at that point in time. But part of the role of liaison is to carry messages back to council, and I will be off of council by the time the council meets again. So I may or may not be here. If we win, if you win, I'll come just to do a victory dance. But I just want to say how much I've enjoyed having this association. You've got the best staff in the city working with this group, and this has been one of the great joys for me these 2 years and the first 2 years I was on council. So I appreciate the work you all do. I admire it. I'm grateful for it, and I hope you just keep leaning in to the things that you're doing now and that the city's going to need you to do in the future. So.
Thanks. We appreciate your participation and engagement with us.
Yeah, I'm glad you overlapped with
There's a
me,
board
thanks.
seat that's open, if you'd like to.
All right, if there's no other items, I could take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn. I came back just for that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.